Winter winter has started here in Canada and North America in general. This is a good time to go through the buggy and make sure that all the maintenance is done. This is a down period where there's no off-roading. So basically, this is where I spend weekends or evenings going through the buggy and making sure all the maintenance is done. I do have an Excel sheet that I follow in terms of maintenance on the buggy, and this Excel sheet has been very helpful to me. I've used it through many years. But essentially, the most important items for maintenance for the buggy is oil change. So oil change, I do that once a year at the end of the year normally, which is in November. And I basically cut open the oil filter and check for any metal shavings or debris in it. And that's on a yearly basis. I do that. There's some other maintenance items that I do that are on 2-year or 3-year cycles. These include changing transmission fluids, the transfer case fluids, and there's also cleaning the air filter, which is something very important. And this is what I'm going to be doing today, and cleaning the throttle body and the distributor cap if you have one. But one of the most important maintenance items in the off season is basically removing the skid plates underneath the buggy and looking underneath everything. Just visual inspection of everything. Just make sure there are no cracks in the frames, in the frame, and any of the tubes are cracked or bent or something's touching where it's not supposed to be touching. These are very important items to check every time you're done the season on the buggy, because sometimes if you miss a problem and you leave it for the following year, it might become a lot more expensive and more catastrophic. And some people also, what they do is they check the axles. Obviously they can open up the diff cover or change the gear oil, and just changing the fluids will give you a lot of insight onto what is going on inside the differential or the transmission or the transfer case. This can help you prevent any major problems in the future. This is the Excel sheet in regards to the buggy maintenance. So I have it divided up in maintenance item, the date done, the next time it's due, and there's a subtraction between the two numbers in order to give me how many days left. There's conditional formatting. So for instance, for the item clean the MAF sensor, if there's less than 30 days, then the box becomes yellow. If the deadline is passed, it's red. And if it's green, that means there's enough time. Then I have some part numbers and the items, some notes for each item. So for instance, today I cleaned the air cleaner. So 11 December 22 automatically updates. For the clean the pre-charger, I cleaned the throttle body, and then I cleaned the MAF sensor, and finally the distributor and the rotor are cleaned. So I look at, I have nothing here. It's all good. For the brakes, there's still enough time here. Rotate tires. And change the front and rear diff oil. I've been kind of hanging on to that because every time I would change one of the Rockwell boots, I've been adding gear oil in it, so, in the diff. So it's like changing it. So, but I've kept these. And this is when I do the Rockwell boot, when I change it and I re-lubricate the bearings and check the hole, knock hole and everything. It is red here, but the boot is still not tripped. So essentially I'm just gonna leave it on, and this is actually the longest I've had the boot not tripped, so 3 years. And I've checked all my boots today and they're all good. And I just changed the fuel, large fuel filter and the small fuel filter. So for the underneath inspection, basically some of the key points was to hold the drive shafts and try to move them up and down, side to side, to check the U-joints, check the pinion bearing as well, check for any leaks, the Heim joints, make sure they're lubricated. I put some white lithium grease on them, Just check underneath if there's nothing that is bent or some other, no cracks in the frame anywhere. I can see no leaks. I obviously had the belly pan out the other day, so I check underneath the belly pan, make sure there's no wires hanging anywhere, no coolant leaks. What I did, I changed the fuel filters. I have two fuel filters on this buggy. One is 100 micron and the other one is a 10 micron. So I took them all out and cleaned the 100 micron and then replaced the element for the this one here is the 10 micron. That's the fuel pump, and the other one right over there is the 10 micron fuel filter. And then obviously some of the key points to check: both sides, make sure that there's no major structural damages. Then to the front, same thing, check the engine. There's no leakage from the oil pan. So check the U-joint as well. I like to use the U-joints that are non-greasable. I find them to be a little bit better. So, but there's some areas like the hanger bearing carrier is essentially greasable, so I have to grease it. And same thing, check the axles underneath. If you have Rockwells, some of the key points is to check the boots if they're leaking or not. And what I also do is I lift the buggy from over here, and then I try to wiggle the tires to see if there's any play in the bearings for the hub bearings. So as I'm gonna remove my my air cleaner, I just wanted to show you here something very important that I highly recommend for any off-road buggy. Is this is kind of a mesh. It's a special mesh that goes over the air cleaner. This one is just a K&N pre-filter. That's what it's called, and it kind of it helps capture a lot of the big dust particles and water going before they go through the air cleaner itself. And this is removable, is easily removable, and you can just clean it up with just soap and water. And that had helped me a lot from having to destroy my my air filter, because as you know, we drive through some really nasty stuff and there's lots of dust. As you can see here, it's fairly dirty, so I'm gonna clean it up. But the key point is that my air filter is fairly clean, visually clean, but still I clean it up every 2 years. So for this particular engine, I do have a mass airflow sensor that is hidden inside the old school kind of round filters, and you have to be very careful every time you're manipulating the mass airflow sensor, because there's the little sensors that are right here, and I'm gonna clean them today. And something else that I like to do is basically every time I'm installing an air filter, whether here or another engine, I basically put a little bit of synthetic grease, and the grease helps seal up any rubber gaskets, and this has been really good at preventing any dust from going into the engine. Alright, so I got the throttle body out, and I have the MAF sensor out as well. So what I do is I basically use throttle body cleaner, and with some cotton swabs that I just spray on it, and then I very gently clean the elements in the MAF sensor as well as the throttle body. I give it a really good clean. It's all black, so that will make it work a little bit better. I'll get a little bit better precise reading on it. For the throttle body, I basically just open it up and just spray some throttle body cleaner in it, and then I'll just scrub it. And make sure also to clean the idle air control. This is the idle air control right here. So you can take it off if you want to clean it up, but I mean, they're not terribly dirty for mine here. So just from the front and from the back. So this is the idle air control. Took it all apart and cleaned it really well, and then blow it all out with compressed air. After you're done, make sure it's all clean. It was all full of black soot, as you can see here. Okay, so I have the throttle body installed. I did put some Loctite on these bolts here to keep them in place, not to loosen. And check the functioning of the butterflies. They're all looking really good. I had to change the throttle body cable earlier this year, a couple months ago, because the cable was just about to break at the pedal. Make sure to connect all the connectors. This one is for the throttle position sensor, and this one is for the idle air control. And then the next thing that I want to do is clean the distributor contact points. I mean, they're not very dirty. I usually clean them once every 2 years, but I think I've cleaned them 2-3 months ago. So I'll just clean them really quickly, and the rotor as well, and make sure everything is working fine. And then the last thing you have to do is clean the air filter. So the final step is to use the Canon air filter cleaner. And so you use the cleaner first, and then I just spray it all over the filter and the pre-filter and let them soak for about 15 minutes. And then wash them with water and let them dry overnight inside. And then the final step would be to apply the oil filter oil over the K&N. And then basically that's it. And then reinstall it back in the buggy.